Democracy. The glorious self-correcting engine of human freedom, a system so perfect that whenever things go wrong, we are told the solution is simply to do it again, but harder. Except, have you noticed that lately a lot of people are looking at the engine, they're looking at the smoke pouring out of the hood and deciding that instead of fixing it, they're rather just smash the dashboard with a tire iron. Welcome to Clearly Ambiguous. Today we are asking a very simple question. If democracy is the ultimate expression of people's will, why does it feel like the institutions we built to protect it are currently being digested from inside out? Here is the paradox of modern politics. When political factions start losing elections, they don't change their platform. That takes work. Instead, they attack the very faith in the institution themselves, the courts, the election commissions, and the civil service. But here's the kicker. The delicious historical ironic twist. The very institutions they are eroding are the ones that were explicitly designed to protect them in the first place. Let's unwrap the great bait-and-switch in geopolitical history. To understand why people are losing faith in democratic institutions today, we have to look at the day those institutions were unboxed. Let's travel back to mid-20th century. The British, the French, the Dutch empires are packing their bags. Decolonization is happening. The local population is celebrating in the streets, and the departing colonial masters say, right then, Pip Pip, we are leaving you with a beautiful, shiny new concept called Western democracy. Here is a parliament, a constitution, and an independent judiciary. You're completely free. But please sign here, here, and here, just to ensure that our corporations keep 100% of your oil and mineral rights. Cheerio. Political scientists have a brilliant, deeply depressing term for what happened next. They call it the managed transition. See, the colonizers didn't just hand over power to the grassroots radical freedom fighters. They didn't give it to the people who wanted to completely upend the system. Why would they? That's bad for business. Instead, they handpicked a compliant, Western-educated local elite, or feudal lords. They gave them the keys to the state. So what did these new independent democracies actually inherit? They inherited a gorgeous democratic facade, built directly on top of the old extractive colonial machinery. The laws designed to suppress the locals under the empire, they weren't torn up. They were just rebranded under the new management. Sociologists call this inheriting a state without a nation. The institutions lacked deep organic legitimacy from day one because they weren't built to serve the populace. They were built to manage them. Now, let's fast forward to the present day. Decades have passed, demographics change, and the voters get restless. Suddenly, the descendants of the old political elites find they can't win elections automatically anymore. The system is actually working, and it is voting them out. So what do? They run the institutional erosion playbook. And it is a masterpiece of psychological warfare. It only has two steps. Step one, weaponize the past. You point at the courts or the bureaucracy and say, look, those corrupt, out-of-touch elitist institutions. They were originally set up by colonizers and old oligarchs to protect themselves. And the crazy part, they are historically correct. It is a fact. Step two, delegitimize the present. You take the real historical grievance and weaponize it against modern judgment. You say, because the Supreme Court just ruled against me, it proves the deep state is still trying to suppress the true will of the people. According to the data from democratic tracking organizations, democracies don't die via dramatic military coups anymore. They die via a gradual hollow out. By the time leader is done convincing the public that independent guardrails are just colonial relics, the public actively cheers as the guardrails are dismantled. The irony is total. The system is torn down under the guise of giving power back to the people, only to centralize it again in the hands of a brand new autocrat. But hey, don't worry. If the institutional right is busy dismantling the guardrails, surely the ideological left is ready to swoop in with a beautifully organized majoritarian coalition to save the day. Right? Right? No. Because while the populist right is busy attacking the institutions from the outside, the far left is locked in a room and they are passionately debating while literally everyone else on earth is compromised corporate sellout. Have you ever wondered why leftists seem to reserve their absolute bitterest, most vitriolic hatred not for the far right, but for mainstream liberals, center left Democrats, and anyone who uses the word incremental change? Welcome to Sigmund Freud's favorite political comedy, the narcissism of small differences. This is the psychological reality where communities that are almost entirely aligned will fight to the death over 2% variance in doctrine. To a structural leftist, the system isn't just flawed, it is fundamentally toxic. Therefore, a centrist liberal who wants to fix the system through gradual policy isn't an ally. They are a gatekeeper. They are offering a band-aid to a cancer patient, which makes them a traitor to the cause. And in a world of ideological purity, a traitor is always worse than an open enemy. This creates what sociologists call the purism trap, when your political identity is tied to an absolute moral righteousness, saving the planet, ending all oppression. Any compromise is a sin. Social status within these activist echo chambers is gained by out critiquing each other. Oh, you want higher minimum wage? Cute. I want to abolish currency. Your incrementalism is violence. It is an incredible strategy for winning arguments on the internet and a catastrophic strategy for building a 51% voting majority in the real world election. So, where does that leave us? On one side, you have political actors weaponizing the very real flawed colonial history of our institutions to smash the guardrails so they can never lose again. On the other hand, you have the ideological left so preoccupied by moral purism that they'd rather be right in exile than complicated in power. And in the middle, the rest of us, watching the theater, holding our little I voted stickers, wondering if anyone noticed that the engine is now completely on fire. But hey, at least the commentary is great. This is clearly ambiguous. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and argue bitterly in the comments about exactly which fraction of a percent I got wrong. See you next time. Thank you for watching.